Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Sleeping Warrior, 10th Man, Neil, Father of a Stolen Child, Eli, Chocolate, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Morning, morning.
Hey, 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 hey.
And everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, hello for someone in Discord. Hello, hello. Hello, good to have you all. Welcome, one and all. Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, and I'm going to preface this by saying it's the single assertion in the Earth curve mathematics. Any evidence of Earth curve?
Only in the maths.
No evidence, but we know how far the LIGO goes.
Well, that's the assumption.
No, that was amazing. We know how far the lie go.
I didn't pick up on that pun. Glad Eli's here. Good job. We know how far the lie goes. That's brilliant. That's probably one of the best to date.
Yeah, that was good.
Excellent. We also had a concession, which I'm going to go into now, which I'm quite pleased about, to say the least. So, hashtag conspiracy cats, thank you very much indeed for conceding perspective again. So 3 years ago, when we were arguing about the Isle of Man, we were discussing the requirement to include the fact that things can get too small to see, and this is calculable with the Rayleigh criterion. Now, Conspiracy Cats has done a very nice presentation, albeit with one error in terms of calculating an angle back from a target to the observer when describing it not being too limited. Other than that minor error, which we'll excuse, Katz has conceded that things can get too small to see by way of calculating the angle for the thing that you're looking at. Now, given that back when we were arguing with the calculators and people were applying it to pictures that we saw, in this case, of the Isle of Man, there was no angular representation calculable. There was just a straight line drawn with a tangent point claimed to be blocking the bottom of whatever we were observing. There was no representation of its angular size, and certainly no concession that things could disappear through any other cause other than the calculator's assertion that Earth would get in the way. Now, I'm sure lots of globe-believing fundamentalist religious zealots are now acutely aware that things can definitely disappear, and it is definitely calculable by way of the diffraction limit in the Rayleigh criterion. That's not in Earth curve maths. And the way it's excluded from Earth curve maths is by way of using feet and inches values for targets. So there is no perspective in Earth curve, but perspective is real, and things can get too small to see. It is calculable. Now, in the pre-show, we gave an example with Anthony playing along, although I'm just going to do it on my own in this live show, just so we can get through housekeeping. If you take a brick that's 8 inches and put it 2 miles away on a runway that's perfectly flat, you can use the Rayleigh criterion to calculate how quickly it will disappear i.e. at what point it gets too small to see. And we will assume, without doing any maths, that an 8-inch brick is too limited by way of its angle at 2 miles. So at one end of the runway, looking to the other, you cannot resolve the angle to the brick. It reaches and breaches the diffraction limit. At that point, an industrious little worker bee decides to build a 100-story skyscraper on top of the brick that is too small to see because its angle is too limited against the deck. Now, from that same exact vantage point, you can see the now increased angle to the bricks above the brick that is too small to see. Ergo, you can see the building, but you can't see the bottom brick because it's too small to see. Now, this is the diffraction limit in action based on the limitation with the deck. If you were to transpose this into the water, your 0 line is the deck. That is the limited angle starting point. How can I explain this? What's your angle to the propeller? Oh, you can't see it. What's stopping you seeing it? Well, the water's stopping you see it. It's underneath the water. Oh, right, so we don't have any angle to the propeller below that 0 line. Well, in the case of this picture in orthographic Muppet view on my screen, the bottom angle is more limited. And it's more limited the further away something gets, because you have a limitation of the deck itself. Now, the top has no limitation. There's just sky above it. Nothing stopping the limit of your view to the bottom brick in my example. But if you can make it disappear because of a limited angle, then that should absolutely unequivocally be included in your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculations. And it is not. Meters or feet only for the targets. They do not reduce in angular size to the point where they could disappear completely, as described by conspiracy cats. So hashtag thanks, cats. Glad that you can now concede what was formerly known as flurf-spective. Easy to hand wave and ignore until one of your own side, in this case conspiracy cats, is detailing the very real effect of perspective reaching and breaching a diffraction limit, causing things to disappear from view. Definitely not in your Earth curve maths. Excellent concession. Thank you very much indeed. Conspiracy cats. Anyone want to add anything on this?
At least they're coming around. How long have you been doing this illustration with the brick?
3 years. We've been given that example in ever more
At least they're
refined
coming
ways.
around.
Yeah, it's kind of like buying a really, really good, powerful gun and then shooting yourself in the foot with it, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
He, up until now, could have taken a perceived win when I discussed this matter with Anthony and him on Anthony's channel. And when he got to the diffraction limit, he just rumpused the crap out of me. Now, Anthony didn't do anything about it at the time, but I was trying, or attempting, to describe the diffraction limit, a complex discussion. And he just rumpused me. Now, when he reached the point where he's like, what's diffraction? I was like, I'm going to get 3 seconds to give what is presumably going to be at least a 2-minute explanation for things reaching and breaching the diffraction limit. So I shut down. And he took that as a perceived win. Like, he doesn't know what diffraction limit is when I'm trying to explain it for about 3 straight minutes with him interrupting me constantly. Now, as a result, the trolls have taken that as, well, that's a win. Nathan doesn't know what diffraction is. When I'm desperately trying to detail it, in light of a calculation with whole numbers, feet and inches or meters, ascribed to things that can get smaller with distance, to the point where they reach and breach the diffraction limit. Now, even in summary now, about 1.5 years, 2 years later, it still takes more than about 3 seconds, i.e. longer than it would take cats to interrupt me to stop this devastating detail reaching an audience. And he'd prefer to rumpus me. Now he's into actually detailing it himself with the diffraction limit I was trying to explain to him back in the days when I was actually out on other people's channels, I might add, discussing these matters. In light of our victory at the Isle of Man, when we prove beyond all certitude you assume an R value you haven't got any evidence of, and ignore all aspects of perspective. Well, now here we are, 3 years later, with our opponents detailing the diffraction limit with Rayleigh criterion. Oh my God, how times have changed.
You need to do a side-by-side video. Like him doing it now and you doing it then. Oh, it's comical.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been trying to detail to you fundies. But what was it called? Oh, it was called Flurfspective, when you hand-waved it. Well, now you got one of your own side detailing the damn thing to you. That doesn't include that effect in your maths. It's not there. Doesn't matter if the building is 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away. It's a 100-foot building in Earth curve maths. So while Katz is going on and on about as the thing gets further, the angle gets more limited. Yeah, that's correct. Does the size of the building in your Earth curve maths get more limited? Oh, no, it's still 100 feet, isn't it? Doesn't matter if you're right next to it or if it's 100 miles away. It's still a 100-foot building that you're going to calculate. What about that limited angle as it gets further away? Oh, yeah, that's not in your Earth curve maths, is it, Katz? Nice that you're highlighting our point to your globe-believing audience now.
Hey Nathan, hey everyone.
Hey, Brian.
I couldn't come in earlier. I just like to. Hey everybody, hey Chocolate. I just like to add in there that they. I know Katz has done it now, and that's because they are in a position where they need to use perspective. With, the most recent observation with the Blackpool thing, they have to not believe that, or have had to not believe that visual effects aren't real. They can state they're real in a debate. They can claim them as our curve when it suits them. But when you show the same exact visual effects or effects of perspective in an observation that doesn't suit them or won't help their belief, because they need these things because they can't measure and demonstrate curvature, and they never have been able to. And that's why they lost the debate in 2015. They lost it in 2015 because they couldn't demonstrate their claim. So ever since then, what they've had to do is take perspective and claim it as our curve. But simultaneously, while claiming perspective as our curve, denying that very same perspective in observations that doesn't suit them. And this is only just like a milestone really with conspiracy cats, detailing and addressing that things can get smaller with distance, because they would not accept even a simple thing like angular size change. They would speak about it, but when it came to showing them in an observation, they would claim everything is our curve and nothing can be angular size change. And that's just angular size change. We're not even speaking about any other effects, just purely angular size change. They would not address it.
But
they will state it's real.
Well, this is the thing that.
Once in a while they will, though.
Well, this is the thing that amazed me, Chocolate and Brian. Sorry, Chocolate. This is what amazed me. So I'm watching this on Flatzoid's channel, going, I can't quite believe what's happening. I was aghast, going, my God, conspiracy cats, you're detailing our argument to your audience. An argument that is completely ignored in Earth curve maths. And we fought tooth and nail whilst being berated as using Flurfspective when detailing the Rayleigh criterion, which apparently we don't need because we're doing geometry. That's now debunked by the Black Swan. So it's like, you couldn't pick a better, from our perspective, or worse, from Kat's perspective, time to start highlighting the Rayleigh criterion. I mean, has the guy lost his marbles? From the Globe side, this is awful. Why would you do this? I mean, I'm really pleased. Great. So what's diffraction, Cats? Something that's excluded from your maths. What's diffraction? That limit that can be reached and breached for things to disappear. So something other than Earth curve then, because you've only got one assertion in your Earth curve column. Earth curve, not perspective, not Flurfspective as it was hand waved 3 years ago. Now you're detailing the very effect to your audience. I can't believe our luck. It's like he's on our side. It's like Ranty, who, let's be honest, wasn't that useful when he was here. is now over there on the globe side, fucking everything up for them. And Katz, who was formerly our opponent, is now on our side, telling them about perspective. We're an upside down world.
We are, Nathan, because they're claiming perspective as their argument, and we're claiming geometry at this stage as our argument.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to...
Bizarro world.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across to the audience yesterday. Don't go past the win. At the point where you're having to say to them, no, 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 you should be claiming Earth curve gets in the way. No. When you reach the point where someone like Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, is saying, don't listen to these flat earthers when they say a bulge should get in the way. Take the win. Yeah, that's right, boys and girls. Don't listen to flat earthers. Sorry, this is definitely a globe claim. That say bulge is going to get in the way. Don't listen to those stupid people. Because that's what it's reached the point now, where people like Craig have to tell you that when we say there's a bulge going to get in the way, that we are wrong. We don't say there's a bulge that gets in the way. We've debunked the bulge that gets in the way, but can concisely describe your claim of a bulge getting in the way. But your audience should disregard us saying you say a bulge would be in the way, because it isn't. So you're going to tell your audience ignore flat earthers claiming the bulge should be there. We don't. You do. It's a bit like Simon Dan telling his audience that our reference frames are ruined. We don't have any. It's a globe claim to prove spin. But you can tell your audience how the flatties and their reference frames are ruined, or the flatties and their bulge are ruined. No, we've just won. You've literally got to deny your own claim in the first instance now. Or start fighting our arguments about how the Rayleigh criterion can definitely be factored in, but isn't in Earth curve assertions.
Oh, we're in a good position.
Nathan, I threw one of my favorite concessions of a Glober, and I think it was Master B or Ballbusters, one of them.
Disappearance 500 feet when the globe model predicts the horizon is 2,600 feet away. So what's blocking the boat if it's not at the horizon yet?
I don't see anything blocking the boat. I see the resolution. I see the camera being unable to resolve the boat.
Oh, welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to Flat Earth, my friend. Snacks to the back, bathrooms to the left, DJs taking requests, and smoke them if you got them.
They're so confident.
Welcome,
I wish
Unorthodox.
Unorthodox doesn't disappear. It just unresolved.
You just snatched your own wig off. Unorthodox.
Look, this video I just...
Yeah, that's it. When you reach the point where all you have in your memory banks is something that you've hand-waved as an explanation. So, presumably, an Orthodox has gone, what can I explain this with? Well, he's presumably listened to many hours of us detailing the diffraction limit and the Rayleigh criterion. And then he's gone, well, it's obviously just an optical effect. It's like, what? So when we say the same exact thing happens, but it's a little bit further away and you ignore all perspective, put it in orthographic view, and then claim that a 100-foot building's got 10 foot missing, then it's not optical. Then it's going to remain the same feet in inches value, and an assertion of a geometric physical sphere edge horizon debunked by the Black Swan is going to be the cause in that instance. But if it happens a little bit closer, it's an optical effect. Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth.
Wow.
I hope this is sinking in. I mean, I've been like a giddy schoolboy for the last month. While I've been told in comments that I'm panicking. It's like, man, things are really turning around for us. It's great. We get to talk about perspective and how the calculator doesn't have it. We get our opponents detailing them how the Rayleigh criterion works. Happy days. Man, what have I got to do? I don't need to do anything. If you want to know how things can disappear beyond the assertion that if you assume Earth curves get in the way, go and check out Conspiracy Cat's video. He says, look, if it reaches this limited angle, it'll vanish. Yeah. Something that's definitely not in your Earth curve maths. So go and check him out. I don't need to do any work. The Globers are doing it for us.
I said it 3 weeks ago. Just keep letting them talk.
Or alternatively, if you want to know how there's absolutely no way you can measure 8 inches per mile squared, go and check out Ranty. He'll tell you how it's locally flat.
Now, in the same way, Ranty's argument with the mountain, they'll say, oh, that's Earth curve. But then the picture that I posted in Master B with the dock house higher than the hills of the mountains behind it, they're like, well, the ratios aren't right because it's closer. No, it's the same effect. So they just pick and choose what optical effects they're going to hijack and when.
No, they don't. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm rejoicing. They might, at trench level, as Ruhif, Katz, and Ranty have done, decide to take an effective perspective, pull out some data from the Earth Curve Maths and Google, translate it into a perspective description, and then translate it back into the Earth Curve Maths to make an assertion of drop. Now, that convoluted gaggle screw of nonsense isn't the assertion. The assertion is the Earth Curve Maths is something that you can compare to a picture to see how much Earth Curve gets in the way. And if it's not quite getting in the way enough, you can refract the target with respect to the geometric horizon with 7/6 of a radius, because it's geometric and requires that R value that's debunked by the Black Swan. That's the actual claim. Earth Curve gets in the way of boats and buildings. Check out any National Geographic video or any non-trench anti-flat earthers argument about what proves Earth Curve. They prove it's proven by the horizon. That's what they'll say. I claim we've got an Earth Curve edge that gets in the way of that boat, and look, the boat's going over it. Oh, really? Would you not say that potentially has reached and breached a limited angle, therefore you can't see it anymore because it's gone beyond the diffraction limit? As described by conspiracy cats? Because this geometric assertion of Earth Curve getting in the way has no angular size change difference. It says the boat's 50 feet high, and it's still 50 feet high 100 miles away. Well, obviously it's too small to see. Is that factored into the Earth Curve maths? No. So your actual claim, regardless of the trench level gaggle screw of nonsense they've extrapolated out from an Earth Curve mathematics that they don't want to use really, because it's got a geometric horizon in it now, hasn't it? They'd rather just cherry pick out a bit of drop, do a bit of translating into a Mong trig that they're going to burn as a flat Earth claim later, and then translate it back in and say, look, it's the right amount of drop behind this Earth curve we can't see when we crop the image.
Yeah, but that's what they're at now. You see, now it's the case of there is no refraction. It's locally flat. LIGO proves the globe because it's so horizontal, and the perspective is curvature. And
imagine going back to 2015 and telling them, guys, you realize in 5 years you're going to be telling us in 2020 that you don't have a geometric horizon, and then in 2021 you're going to tell us it's locally flat. You guys are going to tell us that.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the few times I can turn around and say, at the moment, if I was a newbie who just arrived at this very channel, in years gone by, I've said, no, too cutting edge for a newbie, go and watch a bit of Mark Sargent, get your head around a change in paradigm first, and then come here. At the moment, if you just happen to land here, it wouldn't matter which side of the trench you listened to, you'd still realise it was flat.
I think 5 years ago, Chocolate, if you'd have said that, you'd have been called an utter moron, mate.
I think you're right. And now the utter moron that would have called us that is now claiming it's locally flat. It's great.
Well, right. I just want to point out that that very guy that you're speaking about, Rumpus, he has supported a no refraction perspective argument that involves a locally flat, geometric horizonless photograph since it came out. So Rumpus is stating that it's perspective and locally flat that proves the curve, and there is no refraction.
They'll support hope, Brian, won't they? That gives them a faintest hope. If there's any indication that they could have some waffle around it just to keep their hopes alive, they'll support it, mate. Even if it's contradictory, as they show now, to previous positions.
Oh, I think some of them have to. I don't think for 1 second that people who are in the know on the globe side are in any way thankful to Katz for what he's doing currently. I'm almost certain that they'd rather he kept his mouth shut. Because arguing in the framework of perspective with a gaggle screw translation with whole numbers taken from heights you haven't acquired is embarrassing in the first instance to just a cursory onlooker. But in the most devastating part of the argument, you've got something that is excluded, nay, hijacked in their Earth curve maths, when they ascribe feet and inches values to targets. So having someone on the globe side saying, look, this target reduces in angular size. Oh, yeah. And it does that when you tell us how much should or shouldn't be seen based on how much Earth curve gets in the way in these Earth curve maths. That reduction in angle to the point where it can disappear completely, that's factored in, is it? Oh, it's not? Well, what's the excuse? Should we go back in time and see what the excuse for why it's not in there? Oh, it's because it was called Flurfspective, as opposed to being detailed concisely by cats currently. You couldn't make this stuff up.
Well, I would just like to say that LIGO proves the globe because it's just as horizontal and flat as the canal that runs along the side of it. And this is provable by going to Google Earth, which is the globe Earth representation, and doing the elevation profile of the canal and the LIGO arm or the LIGO tunnel that's next to it. As shout out to Brian Mabbitt, as he showed last night on Brandon's. There you go. It's all horizontal and flat. It's locally flat. It's a globe.
Okay, let me just paraphrase what Brian said in sarcasm. He's saying, sarcastically, because LIGO is perfectly level and flat, and because they utilised a canal, which is a water level, to achieve it being perfectly flat, therefore, it's a globe. Now, that's paradoxically, nonsensically stated by Brian in sarcastic tones, but I'm going to rephrase it. It's flat because it's obviously, observably, and measurably flat. This is backed by the fact that water, quote, level was used to create something that is claimed to be about as flat and level as it can be. Now, none of those descriptions include anything whatsoever to do with a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, or an assumption of a radius value, or an assumption of tangent planes being drawn out from any particular point on LIGO to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. None of those things which fundamentalist religious globe believers do comport with what actually takes place on the flat plane we dwell atop. One of those things being water level and LIGO described as perfectly flat. These are demonstrators of a flat plane. Further to that, it's being described by fundy globe believers as how flat it actually is. That's the current situation, right, Brian? They're telling you how flat it is, right?
Yes.
So they're saying that their tube doesn't work because it's a straight tube that isn't a straight tube, it's a level curve tube, so it wouldn't work for LIGO. Is that what they're claiming now?
No, they're claiming that LIGO was built without the curvature of the Earth in mind.
Yeah.
And the proof of this, if anyone wants to know, and this is proven by Brian Mabbitt, flat earther, right, is that you can go into Google Earth and do an elevation profile of the LIGO tunnel that's next to the canal, and you can see that it's just as flat and just as level as that canal. It's a globe.
So the LIGO tube is bent then?
No, it's not.
But it's level with the water that conforms to their ball, they're saying.
No, it doesn't conform with the ball. That's the point. It's not conforming with a ball. Adding in this nonsensical position after describing how not curving it is ridiculous. Now, we've had it done by Brian in sarcasm. We're having Adam do it in summary on their behalf. It's nonsense. We described it in the pre-show. You can't have it both ways. It can't be perfectly flat and comporting with a sphere with an assumption that it's bending away from your vantage point at 8 inches per mile squared. You can't have it both ways. Now, which is the actual description of what it is? Flat. That's what it's described as.
I do it without sarcasm.
Otherwise, LIGO wouldn't work, right?
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's just say that again about LIGO, and then Brian, yes, say it without sarcasm. But because what LIGO? What?
Otherwise, LIGO wouldn't work.
Precisely. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of stepped on Rams there. Brian Mabbitt showed last night, and I checked it today, that you can do an elevation profile on the tunnel that on the arm that runs along the parallel to the canal. You can do an elevation profile on that and do an elevation profile on the canal. and you can see that the canal is even more level and flat than the LIGO station, because you're doing it at the top of the tunnel, so there's probably variations in the concrete, but it's more level and flat. And Brian Mabbitt showed that last night on Brandon's.
And
I
these
wasn't joining in, Nathan, with Brian. Genuinely, I was trying to figure out what convoluted waffle they were actually saying, because it is having your cake and eating it. I understand now, but I didn't. I assumed they were arguing a better position than that, and I was trying to figure it out, but there isn't one.
I mean, you could tell it's you could tell it's curved because it looks so flat. I mean, why would you assume it's anything else?
Yeah, welcome to Flat Ball Earth.
Right?
No, just welcome to Flat Earth. You don't need to pepper in the sarcasm or the devil's advocate position or try and fathom a nonsensical position on their behalf. Just say it like it is.
No, I didn't believe that's what they were saying. I assumed they weren't saying that. I was misunderstanding it because that is so nonsensical.
Yeah.
What they will try and say, sorry, Nathan.
No, go ahead, Brian.
I'm just going to say what they will try and say to the LIGO argument, not that there is one, but what they will try and say is that they use GPS when they were building, as part of the building of the arms or whatever of the LIGO station. But what they used was DGPS, which is differential GPS, and it is like all GPS, right? It uses Cartesian flat Earth coordinates, and DGPS is claimed to be basically Earth-assisted GPS. So all it is signals and receivers. That's all it is. And you could have a small DGPS in your kitchen if you wanted, because all it is sending signals and receivers. That's all it is. That's the basics of it. Now they don't. I'm not saying that they're doing it that way, but it can be done that way. It's total nonsense.
But if the LIGO facility wasn't perfectly flat and perfectly straight, then it wouldn't work properly, would it?
Correct.
According to their narrative,
No.
yes, that's correct. That's what they're saying. So they're having to argue, well, yes, it's perfectly straight, level, flat, however you want to describe it, because that's part of the parameters
So
that are
it shouldn't
described in
match
LIGO.
the curvature of the water in the canal, should it? It should be different. If the canal is
that's the problem. You can't have it
curving
both
with
ways.
the Earth.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. You can't have water conforming to a sphere, and at every local position on it, you're going to draw zeniths to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, and then there's drop either side of you, and then you move along another quarter of a mile, and it does the same thing. All of those presuppositions don't comport with it being level. So they can't have it both ways. And when they describe it, they can only go along with the description of how level it is. So they tell us how level it was, and then the guys on my panel are going, so what do they do then? Say, well, therefore it's a sphere? And they're all, my panel are all scratching their heads going, how'd you get around this? You don't, globe believers. Earth's obviously observably and measurably flat. And when we describe how flat it is, we go to the elevation profiles used by professionals in Google Earth that show it's flat, measured flat, no drop.
Don't they have a problem with geometry again if they say locally flat? If their Earth radius of the presupposed Earth is 3959 over 20 miles, that'd be 266.75 feet of curvature that would drop and, bottom up disappearance. So how could they even say locally flat if their this is the black swan in a sense from the other way.
Yeah, you can't. That's the answer. You can't describe something that's supposed to have curvature as being flat in any instance. And it shouldn't be. There shouldn't ever need to be any excuse for why it isn't represented as curved. It would be curved if we lived on a sphere. The bottom line is, there is absolutely no demonstrable evidence of any curve, and what is asserted to be the proof of curve is a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that's claimed to obscure things when you exclude perspective. That's the assertion. Now, we've debunked that 18 months ago with the Black Swan. Nothing's changed. Things are only getting worse for the Globers. We're now in a position with Flat Earthers where we say, if you go to our opponent's channel currently, they'll tell you how flat it is.
Yeah, it should really be just self-evident. And if it was, we wouldn't be here talking about it. The very fact that they have to defend it to me, is one of those things that, well, obviously it doesn't stand on its own two legs, your little model. That's why you have to defend it. It's ridiculous.
Well, when their own geometry destroys it, it is a model, it is a presupposition, because they can't use the geometry that they say it's got its foundation in.
Right.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. The very assertions they made here 3 years ago are all debunked and invalid because they no longer have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon, and they're begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator doesn't have any angular size changes at distance, which is another effect that can cause things to vanish completely.
I think if we go back, you said defend it, Chocolate, and I think that probably could have been the case 4 years ago. I don't think that's the case now, and it's probably the cause of such mental pain is that instead of defending it, they're having to lie for it for their ball now.
Yeah,
we're seeing that.
But it's a funny example. Like, you heard the clip with Unorthodox, right? When he answered the question, it was almost like he sounded confident in his answer, but not realizing his answer is our answer, right? Like, he's supposed to have a completely different answer, but when told that the parameters of his response, which is, Earth curve, can't be in contention because there's no Earth curve at that point for that boat to disappear, he very calmly says, yeah, I just see the boat not being able to be resolved by the camera. And it's like, I mean, you heard us. We're all like, okay. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Sad thing is, he still doesn't realize.
But it's like, as they're saying it, it's like, I don't know. I don't understand the psychology of it. It's crazy.
As he was saying that, he didn't have a problem saying that because he didn't have to defend his globe at that point because there was no horizon. The horizon was behind that. So all he had to do was just give an honest answer. So he didn't need to tell a lie or to make stuff up or to try and go into gymnastics, mental gymnastics and mathematics. He just said, no, we just can't resolve it. Because that's what is actually happening. So at that point, he was able to just be honest. But if that boat was beyond the horizon, what he perceive it, if it's missing a bit of it, then it's definitely gone over the curve that he believes is there.
But the funny thing is, this is the same guy who's been here on this show numerous times telling us that the things only disappear because of curvature.
Chocolate, do you remember the illustration, because you used to work in the lumber shop, as I recall, and I said, these ballers, when they say straight is curved and curved is straight, they're lying, because when they go to Home Depot or a place where they could buy wood, and they're looking for 10, say, 2x4 pieces, they're looking at it and they'll say, no, not this one, it's warped. Give me that one. Let's check that. Yeah, this looks straight. Okay, not this one. It has some curve in it. Yeah, that one looks straight. Yeah. They know the difference between curved, warped, and straight, except when it comes to their presupposition.
Everybody does until that knowledge messes with your world paradigm. Then all of a sudden that has to change, and then you start saying silly things like levels curved and things like that. Because what else are you going to do? It's like cognitive pain that you're going through.
Right. And a need to try and explain away things like perspective and the Rayleigh criterion will lead you to detail it, thinking, well, I've done a good job now. I've explained the Rayleigh criterion. I've just completely ignored the fact that it's not included in Earth curve maths because the targets don't get smaller with distance to account for this angular limitation that could cause them to disappear. But I'll detail perspective because then it feels like I've challenged their ideas of perspective because I know more about it than they do. And because I know more about it than they do, I'm right when I ignore it completely and just do geometry with Earth curve edges that are debunked by the black swan. Yeah, that'll make sense. That'll make me sleep better at night. No, it definitely won't. When we're all laughing at you and going, thanks for arguing that we've got a diffraction limit. What's diffraction? Yeah, you guys, you used to use the base geometry to assert that an Earth curve edge got in the way when you ignored all aspects of this diffraction limit and questioned me if I knew what it was. Yeah, well, how times have changed, eh? Shout out to Godzilla37 who says, a globey tipped me off that these super chats trigger them. So here's to that. Thanks for the super chat, Godzilla37. I don't know why super chats would trigger
You and Brian have made a claim that
Why are you here? I've already told you. Get lost, you're a liar. I don't want you here.
Can't wait for the next
I don't want
one.
you here, Rumpus. Right? You're a liar. When you told me that you refracted everything when a tangent point horizon was explicitly described as something that we must factor in with its straight line to it, on recent clips that I've shown my audience, you kept coming back 3 times in a row saying I refracted everything, you piece of shit liar. Never come back. I don't want to deal with you liars. You're just poisoning my audience. Think you can have another crack of the whip? No! Don't come and lie to me and then think you can interject into this conversation. We're here having a good time, laughing about cats, detailing the very perspective you said we didn't need, Rumpus. Now, you're also a known liar, so I don't need your opinion on this. Go away. Go to Bible conversation, which is where I keep sending you, and you keep bouncing back in.
I can't wait to see what they say next.
He was coming in to try and address me about something that he wouldn't have been able to address me about. What would have happened is he would have had to try and overtalk me. He would have called me stupid. I would have brought up, well, if he got a chance to do it, he would have done. I would have brought up the fact that he was trying to tell a surveyor how to do surveying last night. You know, there's a lot of things. The man, like, I could have a normal conversation with Conspiracy Cats. I know, because I was on his channel and he was the moderator, and I know me and him could have a normal conversation once we didn't talk about the globe or flat. Now, me and Rumpus, possibly that couldn't happen, simply because he is so belligerent. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Conspiracy Cats could probably have a normal conversation with you once it didn't get into globe and flat. But I don't think Rumpus is capable of that. Rumpus has some problems, and he's not capable of just a normal conversation.
Yeah, he's a liar.
Know that.
He's a proven liar. So if you want to engage with liars when you already know that they're lying to you, and the chances are they're going to lie to you again, then you're like the boy who cried wolf example. Shout out to Thrice 8 Hermes, who recently used this example in terms of describing auto-hoaxing, which we won't get into on this live show. But nevertheless, his example was about the boy who cried wolf, and saying, initially, the village people, they go up and they listen to him telling them that there was a wolf there. But after the 3rd time, they assess the validity of his claim and decide whether or not it's worthy of assessment in the first place. And they say, no, it's not worthy of any assessment whatsoever. Now, the conspiracy theorists, and you might say, actually, him and the wolf are in cahoots. They want to eat all the lamb themselves. So if they can numb the village people into a false sense of security, when he cries wolf, he's done nothing wrong, right? He's got plausible deniability, right? That could be your argument. But aside from that particular argument, we're talking about assessing the validity of a liar. And once you've assessed that validity, do you keep going back so you can assess the validity of anything that that liar's got to say? Shall we spend time assessing the claims of this liar? I already know he's a liar. Now, if I choose to utilise some of the old lies he's told. Now, Cats wasn't even around on the scene when Rumpus and Ruhif were telling us about the geometric horizon, apparently, that it's all been refracted. Lie. Yeah? He wasn't even around then. So, Cats, you've dropped all of these people right in it. Yeah? And now they're having to lie. Now, fortunately for me, I can just state that quite overtly. Refracted everything, you piece of shit liar. No, never come back here, boy who cried wolf. We don't need to even assess any of your claims. Ever again. We know you're the boy who cries wolf and lies a lot, Rumpus. Because we've demonstrated you a liar. Don't keep bouncing back in like I'm going to let you take part in the conversation. I'm not. You're not going to poison my audience's ears with your lies. Ever again. Go away.
Let me break it down. I worked for this guy, James McElligott from Limerick, Ireland. And it was about time, guys giving in their time for how they work during the week, 6 hours, 8 hours, 7 hours. And he shows me the list and he goes, you see these 2 guys? Liar and liar. He said, you know what they're saying to me, Neil? I said, what, James? He said, they're saying to me that they think I'm stupid, that I'm going to believe them with this timesheet. They're lying to me and they're saying basically, you're stupid enough to believe me. I was like, oh, yeah, it sounds pretty much right. So liars think you're dumb and they can continually lie to you and you're going to listen.
Yeah.
I second that.
Same goes for NASA. Why don't we spend much time looking at NASA footage? Because I can auto-hoax it. Doesn't matter what it's presenting. It's come from a fake place. In the same way, I don't give any time over to assessing the validity of claims made from Narnia. I know automatically that that place isn't real, therefore any claims from there do not require any of my attention. Now, once I know that the place claimed to have broadcasts coming from it is a lie, I then no longer need to expel any energy on assessing the validity of any claims they make at all. And that's the same with any liar.
They
Yeah, what do they
unleashed
say?
him in
Fool
the
me
after
once,
effort.
shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me.
No, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Correct.
Fool can't get fooled
Yeah.
again.
Fool, you can't fool me twice.
That's a song by The Who. Won't get fooled again.
It's who is it? Bush Jr., isn't it?
Yeah, W. You messed that up royally. That was great.
That was hilarious.
Go on, whoever that was Adam.
No, that was Brian saying he messed up, but he set a precedent with that one.
I just said that was hilarious.
Boo.
President.
Yeah.
Shout out to
He
Shatner's
said he
Bassoon.
first me.
Shout
said,
out to
"Fool me-
Shatner's
fool
Bassoon,
me
who
once,
says, shout out
shame
to
on
Disco
you."
Ball Earth. No, I'm not going to get to do the shout out and Indeed. Shout out to Shatner's Bassoon. He says, shout out Disco Ball Earth. Thank you very much for the super chat, Shatner's Bassoon. Go ahead. Who was that talking just now?
Rams.
I was
Who?
just trying to get the quote right from Bush. I think it was, fool me once, shame on you. See, fool man doesn't get fooled again once he gets fooled once.
That's what he wanted.
Right, but whoever said that they're taking you for a fool, Neil, with your time slip example. Exactly. You know, once they've got it over on you once, they think you're a fool. And Rumpus comes here and states that. It's normally his opener, some ad hom demeaning term that he'll ascribe to us before he attacks any of our arguments. Well, that's because he's lying to you and laughing at you while he does it. And for all of you who let him get away with it, more fool you. More fool me, because Quantum Erase has been saying this for a straight year. And I'm like, just let him on to Ballbusters. Now, the reality is, it's not our server, so I can't eject him from the server. I can just keep telling him sod off and not letting him get any opportunity to talk. Other people who are in this server may want to talk to him, and that's not my call. And it's not Quantum Eraser's call either, I might add. Not that I'm trying to twist the knife here, QE. But yeah, it's one of those things that QE's been saying for ages. Why give him any time? I annihilated him, he's a proven liar, don't give him any more of your time. Well, now I've done the same on my show. Sod off. Not worthy of presenting to my audience anymore. You're the boy who cried wolf. Why would we spend any time assessing your nonsense? You're a proven liar.
And he comes on with accusations instead of coming on and saying, you know what, Nathan, give me a chance to explain. I apologize. No, he comes on calling people liars and idiots.
Which is exactly the MO of a liar. When you're here to punt your lies,
Projector.
immediately accuse any detractors of your lie of being liars. Project it straight onto them.
Yep, that's exactly what he does. I went after him the other day because they were giving him so much time, because they unleash him in the after show, and he just goes on and on and on and on, and people listen to him. I'm like, why are you giving this liar time? So he started calling me wanker and idiot, and he got into it, and I said, I told him, like, well, you're just parroting Nathan Oakley, the liar. So he just reversed it, projected, called me wanker, and just kept calling me names. So I called him a wanker, and I got muted because these globe trolls in here that have the mod status, it's just incredible. This whole thing, this after
And that's
show,
the
is
problem with that
absolute
server.
Hey,
poison.
let's not get into the server, right? I'm very grateful to have the access to this server. The fact that
I
there's
agree, but why is he allowed to come on and say that? Even in the after show, Nathan, he's talking about you. These are
well,
the
that's not
battles
to my
that I
audience.
fight. What he's talking about.
Just explain this. I don't have control over the server. It's not my server. But what I do have control over is my show. Like Quantum Eraser has control over his show, and he can do whatever he likes. And in certain instances, I think there's been 3 people, it might even be 4, tops, that I've permanently said you're not allowed on my show anymore for varying different reasons. Whether it be porn bombing the show, saying derogatory things about removing parts of my family from me, or overt lying. There's various different reasons that will get you permanently removed from my show. Now, one of them is being the boy who cried wolf and constantly lying. That's not going to help anybody who's listening to this show. Globe or flatty.
Do you recall?
Theoretically, if I were to build a platform that could host your show, would you consider it?
What do you mean?
He's saying if he starts a Discord channel fully functional, would you switch?
You can't ask that question. Come on.
No, I'm glad the server's the way it is. I'm glad I don't have control over it as well. Yeah, initially you go, I want to be able to control everything. No, much better that it's kept by somebody who's completely neutral. And they
That's
are.
what he's saying.
Right. You wouldn't have control over that one either. I'm saying if it was fully functional, it had people in it, new people, people that could actually engage, would you consider it?
No. It'd be a bit useful. If there's other servers
All
I
right.
can use and run a show from. I can run a show from any server I like. Right? The fact that I've been so warmly accommodated in this server makes obviously there's going to be a greater allegiance to it. Look, there's my name above this show. This isn't my server. It's got my name on it though. What gives? Live stream, Nathan Oakley, it says. Is it? I didn't type that.
In other words, these people in the after show, it doesn't get heard anywhere outside their ears.
No, well, that's not what I'm
they're
saying.
shouting in a closed room.
I don't really care about the after show. I don't care. Like he says, we're sharing this server, and that's fine. I'm talking about the show and people's ability to get on the show, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the server that is moaned about by flat earthers because there's moderation from the globe side they don't like. I'm actually very pleased to hear that. Now, that's not because I lack empathy towards your position. I just want to make that clear. I mean, from a producer's point of view, you want the server to be neutral as possible so that anybody coming in goes, right, if you're a flatty, you're not just going to be laughing at us all the time and kicking us out and muting us. And if you're a globey, the same applies. But there's enough of, obviously there's bias moderators that are going to mute flatties and vice versa. Well, that can't be avoided, but the fact that it's there means that the server is what it needs to be for the show to run. So when there's protracted silences, nobody from the audience can say, well, it's because if we go on the server, blah, 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 because I'm a glober. That's not the case.
Those protracted silences are even funnier to me now that I know we've got Glober mods in what's supposed to be a flat Earth server. That's funny. Any of those Glober mods know where their geometric horizon is or anything about their little globe, or they're just going to stay quiet and just mod chats?
Don't know. Don't care.
You got a lot to say after you guys leave.
All I want is the ability for them to come. That's it. The door's open, fundies. Anybody who says, you need to come to me. Yeah, beg me. Beg me to come to you like I give two craps about what you want. But you can come to me if your desire is in that direction, which it clearly is. You can. You can satisfy your desire to debate me. What's that? You want me where you want me? Nah, I don't care what you want. But that door's open, and there's no excuses. What's that? You'll be shut down in an instant when you beg the question, and that's not fair? Yeah, bleat about it all you like. Like anybody's going to actually back that. What? He pointed out your fallacy, and if you'd have got to the end begging the question, you'd have won? No, you employed a fallacy and you got shut down immediately. What, you don't like that it's possible to shut you down after use of a fallacy? Yeah, see how far that moan gets you. Because that's all they've got.
Shameless plug.
Is that what you've come for? I do it to you, to be fair. I do drop into QE Live and go, subscribe today to Nathan Oakley 1980. Go ahead.
We'll get back to the topic. It's a good topic. Yeah, shameless plug. The end of Fight the Fat Girth. Today on the Numpty Clips, 2 p.m. U.S. Central, 8 p.m. UK. It's the end of that Numpty dipshit. Stay tuned, man. I'm telling you, it's the end.
You mean he's being slowly starved to death, John?
It's Fight the Tight Shirt, man.
Yeah, it's Fight the Fat Girth.
Anyway, besides the personal attacks on his physique, did you see my video on Fight the Flat Earth? Because it's a point where we
Yeah, I was
reached.
wondering, it was poorly timed. I thought that you thought maybe it was Wednesday, but no, it's Thursday. I thought you were going to do it today.
No, I did it yesterday. I just Rachie 00000 released a video, and in it contained part of her argument where somebody was contradicting an argument she'd got from another Glober without going into too much detail. But in it was her putting to Craig that shouldn't there be a bulge in the way? And then him going, don't listen to flat earthers say there should be a bulge in the way. You're like, what? Number one, flat earthers don't make that claim. Number two, yeah, great, Craig. Tell everybody that there shouldn't be a bulge in the way, because I'll just take that out and present it exactly as you've said it.
So she was like, isn't this supposed to be a bulge? And he was like, nah, don't listen to them.
He said, yeah, don't listen to flat earthers when they tell you there should be a bulge in the way. They're taking it all out of context. If you just did it on a basketball, don't listen to them when they say there should be a bulge in the way.
So relax, guy. Don't worry about that. Look over there.
So in other words,
hilarious, man.
Locally flat.
He told her she wouldn't expect to see a bulge.
Well, yeah.
That's what
In other
you
words,
tell
a
woman.
win.
That's hilarious.
Well, that's a win. That's what I'm saying. Don't move past the win. So, right, so we shouldn't expect to see bulge. Right, you see, the thing is, part of your claim has got the word bulge next to it, and the maths for calculating it, and a diagram with the word bulge next to it, and it's the thing that you calculate getting in the way of boats, buildings, and the sun. But what? We shouldn't expect to see it and don't listen to flat earthers who say you should. No, we don't say you should. We point out how it's not there, and when we point out that it's not there, that would be the bulge. You deny that it should be.
Yeah, you had a bulge. It was for the idea that you could prove the globe Earth, but that bulge in your pants just went away when you realized you couldn't.
You had to lower the tone, didn't you? It's been a good month. It's been a very good month. Got lots of fundies on the globe side, essentially peddling flat Earth arguments. It's great. Nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve. Check out my perspective.
You forgot about optics, Nathan.
You forgot about optics. Obviously, it's just a limitation of the camera when this thing's got the bottom missing, because it's nowhere near the horizon or Earth curve. So in that instance, forget about the fact that it's got a whole number in feet or meters attributable and an Earth curve edge that once beyond it's going to be missing because of. Forget all that. It's a limitation because of the camera. Obviously, something that we never factor in our maths. That's what it is.
What are they going to prove for us next? That's the question. What are the ballers going to prove to us next?
Well, I see it as only a quick one. It's not even explaining it away. It's I've explained the principle. Now you can forget about it. As far as I can see with the Rayleigh criterion,
yeah,
I can explain it average, not as well as some of the flat Earth versions, but because I've done so, forget all about it now. It's gone. Don't look over here anymore.
Yeah, check it out. Things can disappear because their angle gets too small. Now let's just forget about that because I've done a very good job of explaining the flat Earth argument, which we completely ignore in our maths. So let's now forget about it. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to Conspiracy Cats for making it such a wonderful month, to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!